As the FIFA World Cup is right around the corner, global football fever is getting hotter than ever. Billions of fans worldwide are waiting for kickoff, and this year is extra special because the tournament is being co-hosted by three North American nations. And today we are shining the spotlight on one of those proud hosts, a country where football is as essential as the air people breathe, Mexico. And to help us dive into the excitement and explore Mexico's rich culture, we are deeply honored to welcome a very special guest. He is a seasoned diplomat who has served in both the United States and Canada, the other two co-hosts of this World Cup, and he also a very talented guitarist who has performed right here in Hanoi. So please welcome to the show, Your Excellency, Mr. Alejandro Negrín Munoz. Please welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in this show. So how are you feeling today? Are you excited about what you're going to share with us?
Think I'm on long for this opportunity to speak with you and with the audience of the 28 channel. And the honor is mine for talking about this. That will be a wonderful 2026 World Cup, as you said, in Mexico, Canada, and the United States.
It's our honor as well. Thank you so much. For the very first questions, we just mentioning that in Mexico, football is as essential as the air people breathe there. So I have a question for you, and that people say that football exists at the air people breathe. So do you agree with this statement? And how do you describe that air in Mexico? I mean, in this very moment when the World Cup it's around the corner right now.
I completely agree with this, let's say, philosophical expression, and I think in three reasons. Football is like coming back to our childhood and has this magical sense. That's why the fans of football will love the magic players. By instance, Pelé, Ronaldinho, Zidane, and of course, Messi and Maradona. A part of that, football gives you a sense of belonging, even social belonging. In Mexico, there is a team, my team. I am fan of a specific team called Guadalajara.
It's very
And what is the feature of this team? Only Mexicans play in this team. So it means that when my team plays, we feel that Mexico is also playing. And third reason, football is full of heroes, tragedies, dramas, success. So it's a representation of the theater of life. And that's why I think that Mexicans, as practically everywhere in the world, loves football.
That's lovely. And we, as a Vietnamese, we love football as much as you said. And exactly that's why we have this interview today. Thank you so much. So let's talk about your passion a little bit, because when it comes to your passion as a guitarist and your passion for football, I feel like people said that Mexican music and Mexican people love for football share one thing in common. They are both intensely passionate and they can move anyone that living that land in Mexico. So as a guitar player, how do you feel music has facilitated you to build a bridge to understand and love Vietnamese people and the culture scene you started your term here in 2022? And is there any similarity between the rhythm of the guitar pieces you played and the rhythm of the top tier football in Mexico?
Let me tell you that this is a very fascinating question. What is the relation between, or what could be the relation between music and football, soccer? And I would talk from three different approaches. First approach is in terms of the structure of music, in terms of harmony, in terms of poses, and as you said, basically in terms of rhythm. So the first approach is which teams in the world can approach more to the rhythm of music. The first representation that I have in my mind is the Jogo Bonito of football of Brazil. That is the perfection, technically speaking, of football. But of course, we have also the Colombians that used to play, by instance, like cumbia, and we have the famous Barcelona by Pep Guardiola with the tiki-taka that was
Exactly.
moving rhythmically the ball throughout the field. And that's the first approach. The second approach that is quite interesting is the chants of the fans in the stadiums. You have, by instance, in Mexico, we used to always sing a famous song of the 19th century, Cielito Lindo. That is a very nice song. But there are another songs. The famous "You Will Never Walk Alone,"
Liverpool.
Gary and the Peacemakers. I don't know if you know that the Ajax of Amsterdam has adopted at some point the famous song by the Jamaican singer Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. There is the famous song of Seven Nation Army, that is an anthem for the Brugge team, and this basically universal. And you have a third approach that I really like, that are songs dedicated to football. And in this third approach, I think that the wonderful player Diego Maradona is basically dominant. There are many songs dedicated to the famous hand of God, dedicated to the life of Maradona. There is one that I really like, whose name is La Vida Tómbola. It's like If I Were Maradona, if we translate to English. That is the title, by a French composer that sings in Spanish, Manu Chao. And it appears in a documentary made by the famous Serb director Emir Kusturica. I recommend to the audience to hear this fantastic song, If I Were Maradona. There is another that I like a lot, whose name is Foot Callejero. It's like soccer football on the street, by a Mexican group named La Maldita Vecindad. And this song is dedicated not to the professional football, to the people that used to play football in the streets, the children's, the youngs, and even the adults. So, in conclusion, the relation between music and football is quite intimate, quite close, more than the people can imagine.
So the connection there is, it's not delusional. It's always there between football and music.
Well, for the fans of music and fans of football, as is my case, the relation is always present, and even when a team marks the goal, that sounds also like music.
Like music, yeah. So it's always there. It's very obvious, right? And speaking of connections, there was a very fun fact about this year World Cup. I mean, talking about Mexico. 16 years ago, as you remember, Mexico played the opening match against South Africa in their home turf in South Africa, of course. and you guys also play in Group A for the opening match. And this year, now Mexico is preparing to kick off another World Cup against South Africa again. What a very coincidence, a very cool coincidence. Right now it's got a little, differences. It's now on your own home soil.
Uh-huh.
So do you feel this is a very special, almost like a destined full circle moment in the football history?
Well, I would say that this is a true decision of fate. Not strange for Mexicans, because our history is full of strange, magical coincidences. And in this case, I would talk about three coincidences. First is, as you say, for the first time in history, two same teams will open two World Cups. As you say, in 2010 in South Africa, Mexico, South Africa, and now 2026, again, Mexico, South Africa. But there are more coincidences. The second coincidence is that Mexico will have the same coach. The coach that we have had in 2010 will be now in 2026.
After 16 years.
Exactly, Javier Aguirre. That is a wonderful coach, and are more coincidences. As you say, Group A, but the other one is that as you remember, the anthem of 2010, the World Cup, was by Shakira, the Waka Waka. Now the 2026 will be by Shakira, Die, Die, Die. What about your question, if we feel that now the circle could be completed? I would say, I remember that in 2010, Mexico was eliminated in the second round in a memorable game against Argentina. So now for this World Cup, if we arrive to the fifth game, quarters of final, if we arrive to that phase in the 2026 World Cup, we will consider that the circle will be completed, and that the fate was in favor of Mexico.
Speaking of that, we're not proceed to the very next question, because I would like to ask you a few more about the very last question.
Please.
Because in Vietnamese, we got a term quá tam ba bận.
Quá tam
ba bận.
Quá tam ba bận.
Exactly. So meaning if something happened for the third time, it's not going to be the same to the very last two times it's happened in the past. So, for example, Mexico played in Group A for the last two times and was eliminated in the knockout stage. But in this time, it's going to be different. That's a term. So, I would like to link that story with folk tales of the Vietnamese. Quá tam ba bận. Do you think this time Mexico will have a different approach to this World Cup this year?
Well, there is a combination of factors. The fact that Mexico will host the World Cup, and that our team, we will play with our fans, is a quite important factor. The fans of Mexico, we used to say that we are the player number 12. So we also play. In Mexico, we have a sense of ritual, a sense of party in any game. A wonderful Mexican writer that was recently in Vietnam, Juan Villoro, used to say that if it were a world championship of fans, Mexico will be in first place. So we will play. Our team will play with our fans. Second one, we will talk a little bit more in another moment of this conversation, but we have a very good team. So we really trust. A dream of Mexicans is that we arrive to the fifth match, that we arrive to the quarters of finals. And I think that now Mexico has all the capacity, and many Vietnamese friends have promised me that they will symbolically support Mexico. So with this spiritual support, I'm quite sure that 2026 will be a very good World Cup for Mexican team.
Today and this year, the 2026 is also a very beautiful number as well, right?
Yeah. Is
That-
the year of the horse.
exactly.
So yeah, it will be good. I'm
That's
quite
lovely.
sure.
Thank you so much. So talking about Mexican football, it is impossible not to mention the Estadio Azteca, a very iconic stadium. It is more than just a stadium, it is a sanctuary that witnessed Pele lifting the trophy in 1970 and Maradona creating the goal of the century in 1986. In this upcoming tournament, the Azteca will make history as the first stadium ever to host World Cup opening ceremony. Three World Cup opening ceremony. That's a that's a milestone. So, given its monumental symbolic status, does Mexico face any pressures in creating an opening ceremony that leaves a historic and unparalleled legacy to everybody there seeing the match?
Thank you very much for this question, because Azteca Stadium belongs of the legends of soccer football. And I would like to share with your audience a couple of pieces of information. One is, if you permit to me, I would
It's
like
okay.
to read a fragment of a wonderful writer from Uruguay, Eduardo Galeano, has written one of the most memorable books about soccer football,
It's our honor, please.
who say that from the depths of the Azteca Stadium, the echoes of the ceremonial chants of the ancient Mexicans ball game resonate. This ball game that Eduardo Galeana talks was invented in Mexico by the old Mexican Maya civilization, was played with the hips, and was when the first ball for playing was created in history. And that's Galeano evokes this when he thinks in the Azteca Stadium as a, let's say, ritualistic also stadium. But there are many pieces of information. You are reminding that we have testified, witnessed their two legendary finals: Brazil, Italy, 1917, and Argentina, Germany in 1986. But was not only that. That was called the game of the century. That was in the World Cup 1970. Italy against Germany was played in the Azteca Stadium.
Wow.
So we have seen there Franz Beckenbauer, the German idol that was hurt in a harm, retired from the field, and then coming back even with a hurt to play that legendary game. And we have seen in the Azteca Stadium the historic game Argentina-England in 1986, that probably is one of the most wonderful games in history, and whereas you, if I should remind, Maradona showed all his human and divine dimension with the famous goal with the hand.
Everybody know that.
But a part of that, it appeared the God Maradona marking one of the goals of the history, dribbling 5 or 6 English players and made a spectacular goal. And also we have seen in the Azteca Stadium some of the most important, as we have seen in the World Cup of Mexico in 1970, that people and expert doesn't refer to that, but I would like to remind, if you permit to me, that we have had was a World Cup of goalkeeper. We have seen there Lev Yashin, the Black Spider. You have not, even you were not in this world. You are very young. But the 1970 was we have seen goalkeepers like Lev Yashin, Russian, like Mazurkiewicz, Uruguay. We have seen also one of the most legendary saves in history that was the English goalkeeper Gordon Banks saving a head by Pelé. So Azteca Stadium is one of the stars in football. Now you are asking to me, what does Mexico is preparing for the opening ceremony? I invite all our Vietnamese friends to be pending on June 12th, time of Vietnam, 12 o'clock at night, to see the opening party that will have basically a music spirit. Will be the most important Mexican musicians there. I remind a very extraordinary Mexican singer, Lila Downs. I remind now Maná. Maná is a super Mexican group, and Los Ángeles Azules, the Blue Angels, and will be also an spectacle evoking the old traditions and the old cultures and civilizations by Mexico.
That's lovely. Is that party gonna be here in Hanoi or in Mexico?
What?
The party you just mentioned? The party?
No, that will be the opening ceremony in Azteca Stadium.
Oh, really?
That will be
Oh,
the
that's
opening
lovely.
ceremony in Azteca Stadium.
And all of your friends will be there, seeing that as well.
Even one of my brothers that is always a fan of football. We used to play when we were a child in the city where I grew up. That is in the south of Mexico, a beautiful city called Campeche. We used to play, me and my brothers, football. We were 4, 5, 6 years old, but at that time began our tight relation with football soccer.
So okay, another question that is not
Please.
it's not on the script, but
Please.
I would like to ask a little bit about the atmosphere, the upcoming atmosphere, because I know you witnessed the 1970 and the 1986, the World Cup environment there in Mexico, and now coming up into 2026. I mean, it's going to be 40 years later after the very last World Cup hosted in Mexico. So how do you expect the environment is going to change this time compared to the other two?
The environment is already changing in Mexico. Now you can feel in the streets the spirit of football. The World Cup in Mexico, we will host 13 games. Will be in 3 of the most important cities: Mexico City, Monterrey, that is in the south, very close to the United States, and Guadalajara, that is in the center of the country. That Guadalajara is a little bit like the Silicon Valley of Mexico. Monterrey is the most industrialized state in Mexico, and Mexico City is the heart of our country. So there is now is not only not only uh, let's say that people is feeling that we are very close to the World Cup, but the second aspect is that World Cup, uh, you need a lot of work to prepare World Cup. Which
Mm.
work do you need? You need to work in infrastructure, in airports, in transportation, in railways. And Mexico has been working a lot in all these aspects. We are expecting to receive around 5 million people that will go to enjoy the World Cup in Mexico, and we are preparing that. Our president has defined it as the social the social World Cup. And what is the
Mm.
social World Cup? It's a program that Mexicans we have prepared for Mexicans, but also for all the visitors, with museums, a lot of music in the streets, playing football in the streets, and that we call fan fest. Enormous screens in the public places in the whole country, in order that the country can enjoy this wonderful, that we consider is a huge party and huge honor to Mexico to receive this 2026 World Cup.
That's lovely. You just answered the eighth question already.
Thank you very much.
So you don't I don't have to ask it again,
You
okay?
continue.
Okay, just keep continuing.
Let's continue.
Okay, so that's a very interesting detail about how Mexico is preparing for the very immersive upcoming World Cup. But there's also another very interesting detail, which is that you previously had a period of service in both Canada and the United States,
Uh-huh.
the two nations co-hosting this year 2026 World Cup alongside Mexico. So, from the perspective of a diplomat who deeply understands all three countries, what, in your opinion, is this unique weapon of all the most distinctive value that Mexico confidently contribute to the shared success of this year 2026 World Cup when placed alongside its two giant neighbors, the United States and Canada?
Thank you for these very intelligent questions. We Mexican diplomats, we used to explain that Mexico um, has, I would say, multiple belonging. We belongs to North America. We belongs to Latin America. We belongs to the European culture also, and relation throughout the Atlantic with Europe, and we belong to the Pacific. Probably people doesn't know that Mexico has had trade with throughout the call the Manila galleon, that was a famous ship in 16th century, bringing merchandises that Mexico exchanged with Asia. So we also belongs to the Pacific. But with respect to your question, I think that in this World Cup will be the first World Cup organized by three countries. And fortunately, we have the privilege to share the North American region this World Cup. I could say that in principle, the three countries, we share the purpose of having the best World Cup in history. We have been working in a coordinated way, coordinating many aspects, even security aspects. And you have to remember that we have also one of the probably the most important commercial treaty in history, Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and that we have a very high level of economic integration. So my first answer is we share same purpose in having a wonderful World Cup. But now, what is different in Mexico with respect to Canada and the
I expect
United
that.
States? I would say two elements. First element is the Mexican fans. We have let's say a tradition of fans in Mexico that are quite particular, quite enthusiastic, that feels football as a party. There is a kind of social commitment with soccer football. And the peculiarity of this is that probably people doesn't know, but in the United States lives around 40 million people Mexican origin. So it means that even in the United States, even in Canada, where there are around 100,000 of Mexicans, the Mexican spirit of our fans with sense of party will be there. And the second element that I would mention is culture. In the case of Mexico, the soccer football is quite integrated to the culture. And only let me give you one piece of information. The FIFA Federation has decided that in Mexican stadiums during the 2026 World Cup will be basically products based in our national product, that is corn. So we will have tacos, we will have many Mexican products in the stadium, and that will be a singularity for this 2026 World Cup.
That is lovely. I mean, this is not just the very first time three nations co-hosting the World Cup, but also the largest World Cup ever hosted in history, with 48 teams and 104 matches. So alongside the excitement, the international media over the past time has not hesitated to raise practical concerns about public order situation and stadium violence incidents that have occurred in Mexico. So when a massive influx of visitors pours in, these challenges are placed even further under the microscope. So, Your Excellency, what tough action or specific security commitments is the Mexican government implementing to prove to the world that Mexico is completely a safe destination and has total control over the situation?
First thing that I will share with our Vietnamese friends is that Mexico is one of the most important touristic powers in the world. We are the sixth most important country in the world receiving international tourism. And why the international tourist goes to Mexico massively is because we have conditions of security. But there are another two elements that I would like to share with you. In Mexico, soccer, football, as it is in Vietnam, is a familiar experience. It's the families that goes. For instance, my brother will go to 2 games in Mexico City with his family, as many Mexicans used to do. And the second element is that we don't have in Mexico experiences of violence in the stadiums. Mexican fans are quite peaceful. But additionally to that, the Mexican government has implemented an enormous system of security. More than 100,000 people will be doing everything for guarantee the security. during the World Cup in the different cities of Mexico, in the three cities of Mexico that will receive the World Cup. They will have the most advanced technology in all the systems, even the called digital ticket. Now, when you buy a ticket by FIFA, they have your digital
Fingerprint.
they have your photography. So I think that there are all the conditions for expecting a highly secure World Cup in Mexico.
That's lovely. I mean, I really like the way that Mexico is preparing for the security. So it can be very safe for tourists from around the world to pay a visit to Mexico and leave them a really deep memory of what they had in Mexico in the upcoming times. That's very lovely. However, a World Cup, it's remembered not only for the matches, but also for the feeling that fans carry home. All right. So, Your Excellency, what is the single most prominent experience or memory that Mexico want international fans to cherish after they leave your country?
As I said, my government has prepared a program that is the Social World Cup 2026. Even this program has begun now. If you go now to Mexico City, you will find wonderful interactive exhibits in the museums. These three cities, Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey, has incredible museums. You will find exhibits about soccer, football. But as I said, the Social World Cup will have many music spectacles, all kind of gastronomic experiences, from the most modest street food to the most sophisticated Michelin guide restaurants in Mexico. And we will have, as I said, the Fan Fest, when even if you go to the stadium or you don't go to the stadium, you will enjoy the same atmosphere, the same spirit everywhere, and you will have the opportunity to share with Mexicans this great experience. So Mexico has a lot to offer for this World Cup, and I am quite sure that the international visitors will come back wanting to come back again to Mexico.
That's lovely. I'm looking forward for my very first time there in Mexico to see what you just said. Is it true? Is the feelings there?
Are you going to the World Cup?
I am planning to go there, but only in the United States.
Okay.
If you gave me the visa there to the Mexico, I would love to. I'll pay a visit. I mean, like for 2 to 3 days, 4 days, spending there in Mexico City and getting back to the US because I have to do a reporter there. I got to report my work there in the US.
We really hope that you can go to Mexico and that you can see on a first-hand basis all that we are talking about. I really hope that you can go to my country.
Now I'm gonna go exactly straight to the Mexican embassy and get my visa there. That's lovely. So for the very next questions, Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, there is a very interesting fact that despite being half a world away, like we're gonna watch the match like in the middle of the midnight, like 12 p.m. or 2 a.m. I don't know. But many generations of the Vietnamese fans know by heart and love Mexican football legends, such as Hugo Sanchez, who won the top scorer title 5 times in Spain. Chicharito, very famous for our generation. Javier Hernandez, or Rafael Marquez, who participated in 5 World Cups and won the Champions League title with FC Barcelona. So are you surprised by this special affection from the Vietnamese fans, from the Vietnamese people? And in your opinion, what is it about the Mexican football style that has conquered the heart of our spectator of our people here in Southeast Asia?
Well, first, I would say that Mexico and Vietnam, we are, even if 10,000 kilometers distance between our countries, we are a very similar countries, including in football. In Vietnam, as in Mexico, football is a social experience, a family experience. There is also a sense of celebration. I remind when Vietnam won the ASEAN Cup in January 2025
Last year.
last year. That was, I remember the people on the streets and all the Vietnamese supporting the team. Same is in Mexico.
Did you join us?
Yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Do you like that? Do you like the
yeah,
spirit?
yeah, I have enjoyed a lot. And but going to your point, why the Mexican soccer football connects with Vietnamese and Southeast fans? I would say that there are two or three elements. The first is that we can define like the flair of Mexican players. I don't know if you remember, you were very young, but a famous Mexican player, Cuauhtémoc Blanco, has invented a specific a movement that was called the Cuauhtemiña, that the player traps the ball between his feet and then jump and
Oh,
continues. This is, so we have the flair. The second element is the spectacularity. You were reminding Hugo Sanchez. Is very famous, the that we call the chilena, the bicycle that Hugo Sanchez did. There are many famous, and also we used to have a goalkeeper absolutely spectacular, Jorge Campos. So this is a second element. Third element that is quite important is the teamwork. Mexico, as used to do Vietnam, plays more with a collective sense than individual with superstars. And we will see now, you will see in how Mexico will play with a very wonderful team that a combination of players with great experience and young players. You will see, I hope we have a couple of very wonderful players. One 17 years old young player, Gilberto Mora, that I will expect will be one of the stars of the World Cup, and other Brian Gutierrez. But the brand of our team is the collective game. And the fourth element that characterizes the Mexican style of football that connects a lot with Vietnam and in Southeast Asia is the rhythm. Mexico has a special rhythm. We were talking about music. Mexico has its own music for playing football. We can begin very slow at the level of defending, but suddenly it begins a change of rhythm when we attack. And this is the another. I think that these are the four elements that connects a lot. I mean, from Mexico, Mexican style of soccer football with Vietnam, with Southeast Asia audiences.
We love that playing style of the Southeast Asian players. So we have the connection there with the Mexican players as well. So I would love to looking forward to see Mexican players to perform extraordinary this year in the World Cup 2026. And we coming up everything now. We make it through the very last questions about. I think this World Cup, not only in Canada, not only in the US, in the United States, but also in Mexico. This year, many Vietnamese fans are planning to travel to Mexico to experience the world's grandest football festival firsthand. So, on a personal note, do you have any specific expectation or any advice for them as they explore Mexico? Is there any specific like location, specific landmarks, or historical places that you want our fans, the Vietnamese fans, to visit there? And furthermore, what inspiring message would you like to send to the millions of Vietnamese fans, football out there, who are eagerly awaiting the tournament through the screen here in Vietnam?
If some friends of Vietnam decides and can go to Mexico, first, it will be an honor for us to receiving you. As Vietnamese Mexicans, we are quite hospitable. We really like when our visitors are happy. So we will do everything for you being comfortable and happy in our country. I would have many recommendations about historical places. You have to remind that Mexico is a country that has 36 UNESCO heritage sites.
Wow.
Even in Mexico City, downtown Mexico, the University of Mexico, the pyramids of Teotihuacan, but also the other cities, Guadalajara and Monterrey, have historic sites to visit. Second one, I would recommend our food. We have tacos, but it's not only tacos. We have a very sophisticated gastronomy that, by the way, is also UNESCO heritage. But I mean, I would have many recommendations. But you have to remember that one, on the other hand, if people can go to my country, you have to remind that this will be the World Cup of the era of artificial intelligence. So now the information flies in seconds throughout the world. So everyone here in Vietnam could enjoy the World Cup in Mexico through electronic and digital means. We are expecting that during the World Cup, around 6 or more than 6 billion people in the world will enjoy the World Cup. So my message for our Vietnamese friends is, please enjoy, please support to the Mexican team. And here in Hanoi, the embassy, we will organize different events. We will have coordination with the Mexican restaurants for organizing viewing parties. Then we will have also an exhibit in the Lotte Center, an exhibit related with soccer football. It's a wonderful exhibit. We will open on June the 22. So we will enjoy from Hanoi and from Vietnam the 2026 World Cup.
So from our side, so this episode we are going to help you to make it more popular to more Vietnamese fans out there. For those who love the Mexican football, love the football there in the World Cup this year, they're going to support you. And we hope that our audience also, for this episode, who's going to watch this episode, they are going to also support the Mexican team and the Mexico culture if they have a chance there to visit Mexico. So once again, it's my absolute honor, deeply honor, and thank you so much for joining us on this very special episode about the World Cup. And I would love to see the Mexico team and the Mexican squad to, win out there and reach it out to the very last game of the World Cup. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Think I'm along.
Thank you so much.